What's up, everybody? I'm Alex.
And I'm Ricky.
And we are back with another video. Today we are talking about our adoption process. It's a process that we've gotten a lot of questions about, and something that we didn't spend a ton of time filming because of the nature of our process, which, as you'll learn, was really unconventional.
A couple of days ago, we sent out a questionnaire on Instagram, and a lot of y'all responded with a lot of the same questions. So we figured we'd do like a brief little video just covering some of the hot topic questions that we've been getting and just some that we feel like a lot of people would like to hear about. So
yeah, we know this isn't a typical vlog, and we're posting this on a Sunday. And something that we've been wanting to do for a while was do more conversational videos and sit down videos and post those on Sundays while we do our longer form vlogs on Wednesdays every week. And so you should definitely see a vlog this upcoming Wednesday, but in the interest of time, let's go ahead and get started and start answering some of these questions that some of you have asked us.
All right, so sit back, relax, get you something to drink, and just chill with us for a bit.
Let me add the disclaimer. We can't share every single detail because adoptions are very sensitive and involve a lot of private information for us as well as for our child. And so we will not be sharing every single detail. Some things we do have to stay discreet about. One of the first questions that people have been asking us was, what does the adoption process look like from start to finish?
Wow. Okay, so I guess we can talk about ours because
every situation looks different.
Yeah, there's not one just singular adoption process.
Yeah.
So for us, the big thing that really, the big hurdle that we had to get over was our home study process. And so we worked with a social worker that was very thorough, recommended to us by a friend of ours. And honestly, that home study process was probably the longest part of the process. And it's ultimately up to you, yourself, to get all the information that you need. And it's really, if you can get it within a short span of time, great. If not, then you're just gonna prolong your process.
Yeah.
So after you get that home study process out the way, I think a lot more doors will open up for you. And so that whole process is really just getting documentation, getting updated vaccinations, going to appointments.
Getting your financials in order.
Financials, and then 911 calls for the house. People want to see, like, is this house been on the record for domestic violence and stuff like that.
Police transcripts or 911 call transcripts, background checks, national, state. It's just a lot.
So having to get all that can be, a process in itself. But I think we just eventually just locked down on it, and we managed to knock it out within a month. Just after finishing our 9 to 5, our regular jobs, just locking in, getting appointments. I feel like we were working 7 days a week when we were trying to.
It was basically another job. Like we had our full-time job, and then we had our home study preparation on top of that. In addition to all of the paperwork and the appointments to get ready. So you also have your visits with your home study provider. So those will either be in person in your home, maybe a couple of them will be virtual. In our case, we had a mix, and we were able to knock it out, but it was a lot of work. And one of the biggest hurdles to get over to begin this process was just doing the home study. Like, that basically gives you the license to adopt. And once we knock that out, and once you or anybody knocks out the home study process, you can choose a variety of different pathways to adopt a child. But the first and most important piece is that home study.
So once we got over that hurdle, we decided to go the direction of an adoption consultant. And we signed on to one, again, recommended to us from one of our good friends. And after that process, it just kind of seemed like everything was flowing and took off very, very fast. So again, our process is not the average amount of wait time. Most times you'll hear people say with adoption consultants, you can expect to hear something back within 6 months to a year. We got ours back within a couple days.
Yeah.
So
we had a home study, then we identified a consultant to facilitate a connection to adoption opportunities. We locked that in, and then just shortly after that, we were presented with an opportunity. Again, very unconventional and not the common experience, but when we were presented with the opportunity, we had to make a choice. Do we want to go for it or not? And we were given very limited but very helpful information about a child that had already been born just days earlier and had minutes to decide if we were going to present ourselves to birth mom or not.
15 minutes actually, I remember, because it was, it was.
And we did film the call that we got whenever that opportunity was presented to us in an earlier YouTube video. And so you can see our early reactions to that. But it was very quick. The call came in, we presented, and then after that we were just waiting, like several days, but what felt like years, because you were waiting to hear back whether or not birth mom chose you to adopt their child. And I mean, we were on pins and needles. We knew we would have to travel out of state. So if we got the call, it meant we'd have to drop everything.
Literally drop everything
and go. Yeah, and so we didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but we were waiting. We had to wait over the weekend. And then that Monday came around.
And we got the call.
We got a call that birth mom picked us. Out of, we don't know how many, but out of several different profiles, ours was chosen. And then from there, we officially started making our plans to meet our son.
So about 2 weeks after that whole process, we basically just kind of made a travel plan to go up there, a one-way trip, and
because we didn't know when we'd be coming back.
Yeah, and we were shortly placed with Theo afterwards.
In an earlier vlog, you saw that we were in Delaware, and we stayed there for 2 weeks, ultimately.
Was it 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
It was 2 weeks, thankfully. We know that when you do an out-of-state adoption, when you're picking up your baby or child in that state, your home state has to approve you to come back home. And sometimes that can take a few days, sometimes that can take 6 weeks. In our case, it was just 2 weeks. But that's why we did the one-way flight, because we didn't know exactly when we'd be coming back home with Theo. And so we also had to hop around from Airbnb to Airbnb. And that was a little bit stressful, but we managed, and all along we had our son with us in that moment. And so we finally got to go ahead to come back home. And when we did, it was amazing. It was his first flight. We were flying back home with a baby.
Flight here, by the way, was so smooth.
Very smooth process.
Very smooth. We slept the whole flight.
Yeah, we didn't have to worry about much in terms of paperwork or anything like that, thankfully. And the agency that we adopted Theo through also was very supportive. Because remember, our consultant facilitated the introduction to the agency, and then after that point, the agency is more hands-on and supportive pretty much to the duration or remainder of the adoption process. From home study to when we met Theo, all in all, we started our home study June 1st.
June 1st.
Theo was placed with us August 1st.
August 1st.
And so that should give you the timeline. 2 months.
Yeah. So now we're in the process of our post-placement visits, and with the agency that we're working with in the state they reside in, they require 4. And with those 4, they have to be split out in between, every other month? Yep. So every other month we're doing our post-placement visits until we complete them. And then after that last post-placement visit, we'll have a hearing. And after that 4th post-placement visit, the adoption will be finalized. So
in front of a judge.
Yeah.
We have to meet with a judge, and they decide at that point that Theo is our child, our son, as if he were born to us naturally. And that would be finally sealing the deal. So for those that don't know or were curious about that, once you are placed with a child, or once a child is placed with you, there's still a process that has to play out legally, according to state statutes, from a month on to several months after that placement happens. And so we are, patiently waiting for that day to come when we are able to finalize the adoption, and we have a lot of support. One of the questions that came up was, how are we managing with attorneys? So we do have a lawyer who is now heavily involved in this part of the process to help us navigate state law in Delaware, file the proper paperwork and case proceedings so that whenever that time comes after our 4th placement visit, all we're doing is sitting in front of a judge and they're signing off on the end or finalization of our adoption.
Yeah. So right now they're doing a lot of behind the scenes work.
So then in that case, from home study to adoption finalization, it will have been about, from June to February, March, what is that? 6, 7, 8, about 8 months in total.
Yeah, 8 months.
In our case. So someone asked, how did you find your adoption consultant? So we joined a lot of Facebook groups. One of the biggest challenges to get started in this process was we are a same-sex couple and we live in the South. And so a lot of agencies here are faith-based, which means generally they will not work with same-sex couples. They are legally allowed to discriminate. And it is very discouraging. And that's something that held us back for, I think, a couple of years whenever we really became interested in this process. However, we joined a lot of Facebook groups because we knew there's a lot of ways that people navigate this process that we just don't know about and maybe exist out of the mainstream or formal adoption system. And so one of those Facebook groups was Noir Adoption, which caters primarily to Black families or prospective Black adoptive families. And that is a place where we found our adoption consultants' information. And so if you are interested in seeking out support groups or other consultants or other pathways to adoption, I highly, highly, highly recommend joining a bunch of Facebook groups and asking questions or searching for answers in those Facebook groups, because in most cases, families will have gone through or are currently going through the same thing that you're going through.
So just to add on top of that, even when joining these Facebook groups, again, it's important to have that home study kind of already tucked in and out the way, because these Facebook groups sometimes have placement posts in the groups. And if you don't have that home study, that'll just be another hurdle for you to take. But a lot of times, if you already have your home study and you are responding to a placement post, that process could potentially be a little quicker than you think. So,
because there are a lot of people who see opportunities posted in these Facebook groups, and the requirement is that they have to have a completed home study in order to present their opportunity. And a lot of folks are commenting, dang, I don't have my home study, or I haven't started that yet. And so truly, again, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to just get that out the way.
If you don't receive anything else from this video, get the home study out the way.
Typically, a home study is good for 12 months. And so if you knock it out and you're not ready to start immediately, that's fine. It's good for 12 months and you just have to renew it every year. Someone asked, can you adopt as a single person? The answer is yes. You absolutely can adopt as a single person. There are a lot of stories of adoptive families that are just a single person and a child, and
they would just go through the same process.
Same exact process. And if you're curious about that, you can go to agency websites and look at other family profiles, and they have a lot of single families listed on their websites. Single family placements are actually more common than you would think. I will say, if you are, on the flip side, if you are in a relationship but you're not married, I found that there were a lot of restrictions on that. A lot of times, if you are pursuing adoption and you're in a relationship but you're not actually married to your partner, then that may be an issue. In some cases, the requirement was that you have been married to your partner for at least a year. I know it sounds a little bit like a catch-22, but that is the interesting thing that I saw whenever we were doing our initial research. Can you talk about the cost involved in adoption? And I feel like this is a big one.
So the costs, well, I'll just start off by saying it's definitely an investment. And I also
There's
say,
no sugarcoating that.
You don't pay everything all at one time. So that was some reassurance for us, I think. Just trying to, obviously we had savings and everything, and we were prepared to pay whatever we needed to, but I think it was a sigh of relief when we had to find out that we didn't have to pay everything all at once. So you want to give like a rough estimate of?
I will say
cost?
that the total cost all in on adoption so far has been under $30,000, or probably right around that.
Yeah.
And that includes everything, not including the things like whenever you have to do an out-of-state adoption and travel. We didn't factor that in. We didn't factor in the fact that we had to stay in 3 different Airbnbs. And so some of that stuff was a bit of a surprise to us. But all in all, in terms of agency and lawyer fees, it came up to roughly like just under 30.
And even with the home study.
Yeah, with the home study
it was
included
still,
in that.
Still probably under 30,000.
But keep in mind, our son was already born. So a lot of times that changes the cost structure a lot. You have to pay, in many cases through an agency, pay birth mother living expenses for a certain amount of time. A lot of cases happen where you match with a birth mother while she's pregnant, and so the relationship is longer, and that will also extend the costs. And so you definitely have a range of costs in adoption. I think we ended up on the lower end, especially given our scenario, but
I've also seen them as high as 60,000, sometimes 70,000 too.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, we definitely did research surrogacy and kind of have high and low experiences with that, and can say without a doubt that the cost of adoption is way lower than surrogacy, and we are glad that we ended up going the route that we did. But yes, so the costs are hefty. It is expensive. It is, there's a double standard between families who adopt and those that don't. It is definitely systematically raising a lot of questions around the barriers, because quite frankly, even in your home study, you have to prove financial worthiness. And you think to yourself, wow, like these barriers shouldn't exist just for me to want to grow a family. But you know, there are reasons why these rules are in place, but at the same time, there is a financial barrier. Open versus closed adoption. So did you choose an open or closed adoption?
We definitely chose an open adoption. So for context, an open adoption means that you still have communication with birth parents. Closed adoption would mean like you don't want any type of communication after placement. And I think for us, it was already agreed upon that we would have an open adoption. We definitely want our son to have that connection with his birth parents if he wanted to. There was never a situation where Theo would grow up and he would want to know information about his birth parents and we would say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
I just never saw that for us.
Yeah, before we even started looking in the direction of adoption, we were clear that we would support, you know, any type of open communication with their birth parent, you know, supervise and, you know, all of that. And so we always were open to an open adoption.
Now, that's not to say that closed adoptions are bad.
No, not at all.
They just weren't for us.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Theo knowing his biological family? Like we just said, we're happy with Theo knowing his biological family. In our case, we're blessed that the agency that we're working with is a well-established open adoption agency. And so in the event that the birth parents want to connect with the child that they gave birth to, the agency would facilitate those communications and manage that relationship so we don't have to manage it.
And we'd be obviously open to that too.
Yeah.
If that happens.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you managing schedules and balancing parenting responsibilities? Yeah, this is the trick.
Still working on that.
We've not figured this out at all.
I think the best thing for us for schedules has been, we have an app that we track our feedings and diaper changes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so after Theo's appointments from the doctor, we're on a frequency of how often he should be feeding, and I think with the app that kind of helps.
Yeah. The naps and sleep schedule too. We're able to like pinpoint the window of time that we have to like take a bath, like to like take a nap, to eat food. It is very much a dance, and while we've been going back and forth in terms of our work schedules while also caregiving, because when we started this, both of us were still working full time. And then when we were placed with Theo, Ricky took off work for a month. I was still working remotely. And then a month after that, we were both working because Ricky went back to work. We were both working, and I was staying at home, working from home permanently, pretty much, or not permanently, but full time for a month. And let me tell you, it is a challenge to work. Even if you're working from home, you think you're at home, oh, it'll be fine, I'm working at home, I can be in the environment where I can take care of a baby and blah, blah, blah. It is tough. Like, I will admit that I had really, really rough days because I was going from meeting to feeding to changing to meeting, and your work schedule does not align with a baby schedule. And so don't be naive about that. If you can take off, then you absolutely should. But it was just very tough. I actually
recommend it.
Yeah.
Just for that initial part, just establishing your schedule versus the baby schedule, just trying to figure out where that blends in.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend, I mean, more power to those who work through that process, but if you could take off and establish that beforehand, I think that would help a lot.
And it's very hard, honestly, in the United States. We are, a very industrialized society, and yet paid parental leave is not the law of the land. Very few caregivers have access to paid parental leave. This is something that I was posting a little bit about on our Instagram and our TikTok, because I was doing a short series on parental leave, and it's just really sad that a lot of people don't have it. In fact, Ricky did not have paid leave. He just had time off or parental leave, unpaid parental leave, which is a disaster, right? For families that need consistent income, coming into the house. And so at this point in time, though, I am on parental leave, paid parental leave through the remainder of the year, and Ricky's back at work full time. And so I get to be a stay-at-home dad for a few months. I'm still doing a couple of work things, like I'm still teaching because I'm a professor at a local university. I have a light teaching load, though I only teach one course a semester. And then I'm still DJing a little bit here and there. But outside of that, my full-time gig is on pause until January, and Ricky is breadwinner, bringing home the bacon.
Yes, sir.
And then outside of work, on the weekends, we are starting to go out.
So on the weekends, we're starting to go out more. I think we're both a little bit more comfortable taking Theo outside the house.
Yeah.
And so now we're starting to branch out, do some more things that we were doing beforehand, going to like some festivals, going to the park, just going down to the coffee shop. So our weekend agenda, really, we don't have a set schedule for. Obviously, Theo's on the schedule for feeding, but it's kind of up in the air, and I kind of like it like that.
Theo runs our days. I mean, he is our boss currently.
Days and nights.
So. He is our boss, and it is what it is. That is the life we chose. And we're rocking it, and he's a good boss, give or take a few nights, but it's good. How does it feel to be a parent?
It's humbling. So beforehand, when we were going through this process, you get tips from your parents, different parents, co-workers, colleagues, friends, and you read all the books. Of course, you want to prepare and want to be the best parent possible, but I think in the moment, everything, all that knowledge just kind of goes out the window. Yeah. And for me, I'm a very by the T, step-by-step kind of person. So when that happened to me, I had to realize that we had to form our own type of style of parenting.
Exactly.
And learning that we didn't know everything in the beginning was a shift for me. So I would definitely say humbling at first, in a great way.
Yeah.
He's allowed me to realize that we're all learning through this process. So
yeah, it feels good to be a parent. To be a dad is something that I've always dreamed of doing. I've always known that Ricky would make a great father as well, and it honestly is not settled yet that this is our reality currently, because it feels truly like a dream come true. Like I don't have, many words to say, regarding how it makes me feel, because it feels like a dream come true. But it is humbling. Yeah, it's tiring, and it is a little bit nerve-wracking because we are responsible for a beautiful human's life for eternity. And so humbling, I probably would say, is a great way to put it. Like, because it is no longer like, there are so many things that Ricky and I have done over the last 16 years since we've known each other that have been selfish. And now I feel like we are no longer, and it's true, we're not at the center anymore. No, Theo is the center of our life. Our marriage is still intact. It's still very important. But Theo right now is, he is the center, and it's amazing. Now, when he's 2 years old, 3 years old, toddler, terrible twos, all of that, let's check back in.
No, I mean, he'll still be, just with a lot more words coming from him.
And we're not naive. We know that there will be good days, there'll be bad days. It'll be rough, but it'll also be humbling. It'll be loving. Like, we are just prepared for it all. Prepared to receive whatever comes and not be totally thrown off. I mean, we're ready.
Yeah. It also helps that Theo has a great village behind him. Also with parenting, like, we knew we had friends and support, but when Theo came, literally, I don't even think you may have hit on this in one of our previous videos, but while we were in Delaware, Theo was coming, we were rocking with Theo, and when we came back home, we came back to boxes and gifts and diapers and wipes and so much stuff. It was kind of overwhelming at first, but it just reminds us that we're not doing this alone.
Even some of you reached out, said, hey, can we get your registry? What can we share? So even some of you guys, our YouTube family, sent along gifts. And we cannot be more thankful for y'all showering Theo with all these wonderful things in the first few months of his life. We joke all the time, like, I don't think we have to buy diapers for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Like, we good. How are the pets adapting to the new baby in the home?
I think they're doing pretty fine. So for those who don't know, we have 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Our oldest dog, Zora, she's a German Shepherd and Husky mix. She is 11 years old. She is the first child. And now she's the mother of the house at this point.
Yeah.
But she does fine with him. She loves people. And so when Theo came along, after the initial introduction, sniff and everything, she was, giving him licks on his hands and everything like that. So she loves him. Albus is our rescue. So we actually rescued Albus from the dog park across from our street. He might be about, right now, 2 or 3 years old. We're still not entirely sure.
Probably closer to 3 at this point.
Yeah, so he's a terrier mix. And so the thing about Albus is our protector of the house. Anything in this house, he'll protect it. And so when it came to Theo, he did fine initially. I mean, he's still doing fine. But when Theo would get antsy and make weird noises that Albus has never heard of before, it was kind of like he was on alert. Yeah. Like, what is that sound coming from? Who is this person? But over time, he adapted to those sounds, and he protects Theo too. So I actually, whenever Theo's napping, Albus is there just making sure he is still sleeping and getting his Z's. So
yeah, we don't keep them unsupervised though, and it'll probably be years before we ever get to that point, because you never want to leave dogs around a young child unsupervised. Obviously, we've explored doing some temperament training with Albus in particular, because we do want to make sure that Theo and Albus are comfortable being around each other. But for the most part, it's all been good. I mean, they've been very chill, very relaxed, and very protective of Theo, and just looking over him, and yeah, gonna continue to keep an eye on that. All right, so future plans and choices. One of the questions that someone asked was, did we have a choice in selecting the gender of our baby?
So we actually did have a choice. So going through and making our adoption profile with the adoption consultant, there is a question whether you prefer a boy or a girl. For us, we didn't specify a gender. It just kind of worked out to where when they called us, it just happened to be a baby boy. I mean, I think we were both excited, but even if
Yeah.
it was a girl, we'd be excited as well.
We did not have any preference regarding the gender of the child whatsoever, but when you go through the adoption process, they do ask you your preferences, and it ranges from gender to ethnicity and all of that. And so just know that you do have that option to you whenever you're going through adoption. But in our case, we did not care about the gender as long as we had a beautiful, healthy child. Are you planning to have more children?
I think we are.
Yeah, I mean, we always wanted more than one child. However, I will say the number of the children may have changed.
Number might change because I think now for me, my ideal max would be 3. I'm also okay with 2, and I'm also okay with 1 at this point.
And we're not rushing to grow the family anymore right now because when you have a baby, a newborn, it really opens your eyes to the amount of time and effort and energy it takes to take care of that child. And it is a lot of work. And so if we were to do like a back-to-back thing, that just kind of terrifies me right now because I feel like we need a break. But we do want more children in the future, and we're going to keep that door open for as long as possible. So, you know, that's another financial obligation. So we have to save up for that again. And we're lucky because Theo has a lot of like play cousins.
We're also very fortunate because Theo has a lot of play cousins that are kind of around the same age as him. From friends to family to wherever, they're all within that age range of maybe 9 months to just being born a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So Theo will have, you know, people around his age to kind of play with.
Ricky's sister just had a little girl. So, you know, Theo already has his first cousin. And in our families, like first cousins are like siblings. And so he has a little group of troublemakers that he'll be able to grow up with, thankfully. But I'm sure the point will come where we'll be ready to give him his own little brother or sister. And that time is not today, so. All right, so somebody also asked about what are some resources that we could share for people considering adoption. And I think for that, I'm just gonna drop some links to resources in the description of this video. Several of them may include like Facebook groups and a few other adoption information resources. There's so much out there. I know it can be a little bit overwhelming, but just, you know, take it for a grain of salt what we're sharing. It could be very helpful or it could not be helpful to you at all. But it's stuff that definitely was helpful for us on our journey. So definitely check that out in the description box.
Like we said before, thank y'all so much for just sitting down with us and as we answer some of the common questions that we've been getting for the adoption process. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to our channel if you like travel, DIY, and fatherhood content. And yeah, be sure to comment down below if y'all have any more questions that y'all would like for us to answer. Also be sure to like this video.
If we have any other folks that are going through adoption or have gone through it themselves, let's create a little community in the comment section as well, as other people may have questions. We definitely could not cover everything. And so definitely weigh in the comments if you have more to share. To demystify the process for people. It is like a black box
No,
to
seriously,
a lot of folks. So we need as many folks to share their experiences as possible, but definitely weigh in the comments.
So yeah, I think we'll just wrap it up right here.
All right, we will be back on Wednesday with another weekly vlog with you guys. But in the meantime, thank you guys for tuning in,
Thank you.
We will see y'all later.
See y'all.
Peace.